March 20th is celebrated each year as World Happiness Day, a day coinciding in the Northern Hemisphere with the spring equinox, a symbol of rebirth and reawakening. The day was originally suggested by Bhutan, a South Asian country which values gross domestic happiness, GDH, over gross domestic product, GDP. In 2012, International Day of Happiness was adopted by the United Nations to emphasize that a nation's progress must be not only measured economically, but also by the happiness and well-being of its inhabitants. In recognition of this day, this video explores the theme of happiness as described in A Course in Miracles. Everyone desires to be happy. This yearning for peace and joy can be seen as a universal spiritual call that all beings share in common, a collective longing for lasting fulfillment, wholeness, inner peace, and everlasting freedom. This course has explicitly stated that its goal for you is happiness and peace. The introduction to the text of A Course in Miracles ends with the phrase, "Herein lies the peace of God." The purpose of the Course's teaching is to uncover the inherent peace and happiness that lies within oneself. Perceiving oneself within a world of time and space, one's thinking becomes split between two distinct viewpoints, one based on love and the other based on fear. The fear-based mind of ego sees a fearful world of war, disease, destruction, and death, while the love-based mind of spirit reinterprets the ego's thoughts of fear into peaceful images of joy, peace, unity, and abundance. Spirit's goal of healing the mind of fear brings about a forgiven world where judging thoughts have been laid aside and the mind is restored to its natural state of stillness, peace, and joy. In the Course, happiness is not earned or achieved. It is merely recognized as one's essential nature, or not. Joy is eternal. You can be sure indeed that any seeming happiness that does not last is really fear. In A Course in Miracles, the words joy and happiness are used synonymously, interchangeably. Both joy and happiness are seen as variations and aspects of love. In Workbook Lesson 67, we are told that love created me like itself. And being love, true happiness is the joy that one is. unconditional in nature and never ending. Ego versions of happiness, on the other hand, are temporary states, short-lived, and associated with external outcomes and events. Ego happiness is temporary, and its approaching end is anticipated. Thus, it is actually fearful. What appeared to make the ego mind happy yesterday no longer seems to make it happy today. Yet true happiness is not attached to changing moods and desires, remaining constant. In the Course, joy is described as one's sacred right. It can be covered over, but never really lost. It is like the sun, which continues to shine even when clouds obscure its sight. One is actually never not happy, even when one feels upset. The Holy Spirit is the Spirit of joy. The ego mind is a joyless mind, being constructed from fear, guilt, attack, and pain. The mind of the Holy Spirit, however, is a happy spirit, described in the Course as the spirit of joy. This joyful spirit teaches that the first obstacle to maintaining a joyful mind is the urge to give it away. The teacher Rupert Spira points out that it is in one's resistance to and desire for a situation to be different that one turns a situation into a problem. And it is in the withdrawal of resisting and seeking thinking that one's underlying joy reappears. In the Eastern Hindu tradition, one's awareness of being is happiness, described as Sat Chit Ananda. Being awareness is blissful. This is why many non-dual spiritual teachers instruct students to keep returning one's attention to the I am, one's sense of being. One's being, who one is a constant, never changing, for one can never not be. And this beingness is connected to joy. As St. Francis of Assisi once said, "What you are looking for is where you are looking from." How else can you find joy in a joyless place except by realizing that you are not there? The Course points out that one does not actually reside within the world. As Course teacher Ken Wapnick once famously remarked, "I am not here, and neither are you." The world is seen as a dream, a projection of the mind's shared thoughts and beliefs. One's thoughts about the world reside within one's awareness and never leave there. A world of perception arises when thoughts are made into images and then projected outward. By seeing oneself as the maker of the world, the dreamer of the dream, one recognizes one is not in it. It is like being in a lucid dream, where one is aware that one is dreaming. One understands then that one is making it up and cannot be hurt by anything occurring in the dream. The dream then takes on a peaceful and even joyful quality. In recognizing that one is the maker of the story, one can make an unhappy story into a happy one. Do you prefer that you be right or happy? In this often quoted line, we recognize that when one judges or resists another's position, one is not happy. For when one believes one is right, one implicitly believes those who do not agree with one are wrong. This making the other wrong, bad, unworthy, or even evil is condemnation and a form of attack. There is no peace in attack, and the judging mind will project that the other will attack one back in return. One has then constructed a war that is being waged in one's own mind. And there is no joy in war. Forgiveness in A Course in Miracles is the primary means to release judging thoughts, which have hidden one's underlying happiness. In forgiveness, one must first see that one's unhappiness is not actually caused by the situation itself, but rather by one's judgment and resistance to the situation. And then offering one's judgments to one's loving mind for reinterpretation and new way of seeing. Let me forgive and be happy. In both workbook lessons 63 and 64, the function of forgiveness and happiness are seen as serving the same purpose of healing. Forgiveness in the Course is one's only purpose in the world of time and space. In choosing forgiveness, one is choosing happiness. And in choosing not to forgive, one is actually choosing unhappiness. For holding one's grievances and past injustices merely block happiness. The spirit mind is constantly working unconsciously to undo these past judgments and resentments in one's mind. In Lesson 101, we are told, God's will for me is perfect happiness. This perfect happiness means that real joy is unconditional, unlimited, and never ending. This happiness is the very nature of what one was created to be. And if God's will for me is perfect happiness, what are the chances that this will not be? It must be clear that it is easier to have a happy day if you prevent unhappiness from entering at all. In chapter 30 in the text, in the section entitled Rules for Decision, one learns that to have a happy day, that one must begin with the determination not to make decisions on one's own. For to make decisions on one's own is to have chosen the ego as one's guide. Given that the ego is the teacher of fear, one has unconsciously chosen unhappiness. Whenever lack of peace arises in one's day, one is instructed to recognize that one must have chose the ego once again, and then be willing to see the situation differently. This willingness to see the situation differently invites the teacher of joy into one's mind and to reinterpret the situation, restoring peace. One's decision for a happy day thus releases one from the ego's judgment. And the happiness that then arises can now be shared with others. For one's purpose as the light of the world is to share the light of joy with everyone. To heal is to make happy. The result of a fully healed and forgiven world is the emergence of what the Course calls the real world, or the happy dream. Yet to reach this state of vision, one must first face the judging thoughts and fear-based emotions that accompany them. The temptation here is to either bypass the judgments or, having identified them, to hold on to them instead of inviting the spirit mind to reframe them. All fear-based thoughts of the ego hurt, and this pain is merely a call for help and healing. For no one wants to suffer, though one can mistake pain as the pathway to happiness. In recognizing that pain is a consequence of judging and resisting in one's mind, one can then be open to another way of seeing. In the words of the Course, I could see peace instead of this. The Holy Spirit begins by perceiving you as perfect. To perceive yourself this way is the only way in which you can find happiness in the world. What one perceives as perfect, one does not judge. It is accepted and loved and cherished for what it is, needing no alteration or change. Seeing oneself as perfect is to recognize that one never left oneness, never having separated from love, remaining always as love created one. The teacher Byron Katie points out that the recognition that one never left oneness means that you were never born and can never die. Accepting the perfection of oneself and others is what the Course calls the atonement, which is the one need that is required in this world. It is the vision of the spirit of joy that allows one to see this wholeness in the sacred moment. In recognizing this wholeness, the ego mind of parts and pieces is undone, because one realizes that the separation, the making of the world of time and distance, never occurred. And in this, all forgiveness is completed. His happy dreams are heralds of the dawn of truth upon the mind. The Course teacher Ken Wapnick taught that reaching the happy dream is simply a shift from wrong-minded thinking to right-minded thinking. The happy dream reveals a world absent of fear. All ego judgments have become purified in the mind. There is nothing left to block the recognition of love's constant presence. Love then extends its light of joy onto the world. Everything is seen as valued and perfect. While this vision still remains a dream, it is a happy one. The love, peace, and acceptance of the happy dream are conditions implicit in the very nature of truth, which makes the final step to oneness, to truth, to the kingdom of joy, an inevitable outcome.